would you say is your favorite object or piece in your studio or in the gallery?
Easy. I love my stapler gun. I think it's just like the handiest thing, and you can just like put anything on the wall ever. There's also an aggression that goes with it. I think you can just like staple it up, and you can just be like, I'm gonna put you there. Yeah, really, you got to treat the paintings how they need to be treated, and I think staple gun gets it done.
And can you tell us a little bit about current body of work and practice? How would you describe it to someone kind of your work for the first time?
Yeah, right now I'm really interested in like almost be like a town witch. I don't know if that makes sense, but I have been winding my own yarn using like wool, and then I kind of like twist it, so very much like spinster energy. And then I've been really experimenting with dipping it in different natural dyes and making my own potion. It makes the whole apartment smell terrible. So there's like turmeric, there's cabbage, just anything that's game that smells bad usually makes really good colors. And I'm kind of interested in this idea of like taking a material and then transforming it so much that it starts to almost undo itself, but in its undoing it creates something like beautiful or new. And I think that starts to speak to a lot of what I'm interested in when I paint, which is crazy that I had to step away from painting in order to start understanding why I was painting what I was painting. But yeah, well, I think I've been a knitter, I've been a crocheter forever. I have terrible attention, so since I was little it was just like I could not stay still or focus on anything, and I think like using my hands to do things has always helped me. So that's like got me into drawing. Like I've never not been in a school class and not like doodled, and then it became crocheting and knitting, and that started to cause a little more trouble, but it's just been something I always do. It's really a way to cop out on a Christmas gift. So I think then it started to become like, how do I take a craft and something that I'm very good at doing and start to use it as like a skill or a technique like you would in a fine arts practice. And I think painting was kind of like just like the second jump from the doodling. I feel like I'm a very visual centric person. I think a good book, for example, is one that can encapsulate a single image. So that kind of is the aesthetic of the novel. But I think similar with painting, this idea of capturing an image that kind of harnesses what I'm feeling has always been really attractive. So I love colors too, so that works.
What would you have to say are some of the like direct artists influences on your work?
Yeah, let me see. I'm really obsessed. I don't know if but it's Ken Gun Min. He does a lot of cool stuff, and he uses this Korean dye, and he like dyes his paintings, but then he like embroiders usually these like dead animals, or it can be like ripe fruit that's almost rotting with like jewels and beads, and it's so cool. And I think in some way I saw him this summer in Savannah. It started making me think about how I can start taking the canvas and like make it irregular shapes and using it almost as an adornment. I think that was really amazing. I also just love Hellenic statues. I think that's become a huge like just platform for just thinking about how relationships and certain motifs become central like throughout history. So every single artist I've ever thought of has just lost my mind. But I think those are the two that I've drawn to a lot right now.
Well, I guess, how does a piece usually like begin for you, and how do you know when it's finished?
That's a good question. I think it begins because I feel antsy and I feel like I haven't done anything and I've just screwed around, or it feels because I've ruined some other painting and I need to like prove myself in a different way. So it usually comes from a place, rarely does it come from a place of like, oh, I'm gonna just figure this out. Like, I'm so excited. It's usually a lot of like anxiety, a lot of like, but I think it ends in an opposite way, or at least I think my favorite pieces I've ended with is like, it's a coming to terms of what it is. It's accepting what it can't be, and it's just like, it's just so clear. I think I can only finish a piece when I'm in that mindset, and if I finish it a different way, then it's not done. So I know how to end things, but I sometimes don't know how to get to the ending.
So what's the best art critique you've ever received in your work?
Well, my advisor, Katie, is so good, but I think she's really good at just telling it to me, like just telling me I need to like, clinch whatever I need and just get on with it. So I think one of the best critiques I've ever gotten was just this idea of you need to move on, you need to figure out what's important, and stop. Everything is important to a degree, but start to understand what contrasts really draw you to it. And I believe it was so powerful because oftentimes I find it hard to be the voice of reason I need to be. Like, I'm usually very much into giving myself to my extremities. But I think a harsh critique has never been something I've shied away from. And it got me to do 3 pieces in 2 months, or 2 weeks. So yeah, it was good. Yeah. This is my painting. It's called Lamb in a Rib Cage. The rib cage is not up yet, but there's these canvas pieces I did, and it kind of comes over and it looks like that. But it doesn't look like a rib cage. It actually looks like flower petals. And I think this piece kind of encapsulates a lot what I was going for near the end of my show. These are chrysanthemums, which is a flower that often kind of means like death, or kind of like this idea of eternal sleep, which was really compelling to me. But there's this baby lamb in it that looks so new and fresh, and the chrysanthemums also have this like blooming, like livelihood, the springness to it. But I think I started using symbols to become meanings for other things. I was really inspired by post-Raphael or pre-Raphael. I think it's pre-Raphael paintings like Ophelia, where like each flower has its meaning, and it almost becomes you're starting to read the painting, and then the reading of the painting is drastically different from the visual appeal, experience. So I was really interested in what sewing could do and creating irregular shapes. So yeah, I was really excited. It's on raw canvas, which is new for me, but yeah, it's a favorite of mine.